Hey guys, it's Tiffany of Tough Angel Books, and for this special video, I'm doing a top 10 video. Video is special is because today is the 1-year anniversary I launched my BookTube channel, and it has been a great year, and I'm going to try and not have a month of nothing posted this year. See what I can do. But for this top 10 video, I have 10 books that have kind of influenced my reading a lot, kind of helped me, read broader and more, and a lot of these are actually pretty thick books, so let's get started, shall we? This is no particular order. I know it's a top 10, but this is just 10 books that have influenced my reading. And they're all books that I've read within the last year or more that have really influenced me. So the first book I'm going to show you is Daughter of Smoke and Bones by Laini Taylor. This is the first European book that I've read and loved, and I just love the fact that it's based in Europe, and it's based in Prague, and this is such a well-written story. This is such a well-written story, and it's over 400 pages, but I absolutely love this. I would strongly recommend reading it if you're not already a fan of Katie Tastic, who is in love with this trilogy. But I would highly recommend reading it because it is such an amazing read, and it's a really good read. Next book I have is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This was the first book-to-movie adaptation I made a point to read before it hit theaters. So I had known about this book. I heard there was a trailer out for a movie. I grabbed this book before I watched the trailer, and then I was halfway through chapter 4 when I watched the trailer, and it just motivated me to read it more. So this really influenced my book-to-movie adaptation reads, because this is such a good read, and if you have not heard of it or have not read it, go find it, go read it. It is absolutely amazing. I would highly recommend it. Next is Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This was the only book I was made to read in high school that I enjoyed, to the point I reread it before I handed it in. Just to give you an idea how much I enjoyed it. And I read this in high school in my senior year, in my senior English class, and I absolutely loved it. I reread it before I had to hand it back into my teacher before we started the next book. It's The Immortal Rolls by Julie Kagaway. I'm gonna screw up that last name no matter what I do. This is the only dystopian vampire book that has kept true to kind of the lore of vampirism, and is such a compelling read and such an interesting read. And I'm not a fan of this cover, but it's saying Blood of Eden, which is the name of the trilogy, and this spine right here makes up for the dust jacket. But I absolutely loved this. This is one of the few dystopian type books I read, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. Next, if you're new to my channel, then you are about to find out this is one of my 2 favorite books, The Hollow Sun. This is the first modern dark fantasy book that I read and thoroughly enjoyed wholeheartedly. This does not have enough recognition. I would strongly recommend you go find it on Amazon and buy it, because this is a really good read. The oldest books I have on my shelf, and I mean this is like one of the first books I bought, Virals by Kathy Reaches. Virals by Kathy Reaches. This is the first mystery book that I read, and it has a twist in it that fits. I can't remember if it's actually mentioned in the synopsis. but it is a really, really good read, and it's about a group of 4 friends, so I seriously recommend this. Is Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Again, if you're new to my channel, this is my all-time favorite book. The first time I read this book, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the writing, the way the characters were written, the structure of the story. I fell in love with everything to do with this book, and the movie is actually a pretty loyal adaptation to this book. I would highly recommend reading this book and then watching the movie, and you'll understand what I mean. This is the first book I pulled an all-nighter for, and that is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. This book, I was in high school when it came out. I checked it out of the library, and within 2 days I had it back in the library, wondering when the next book was going to be in the library. This next book is kind of a dark tone book, but I really enjoyed it, and that is Impulse by Ellen Hopkins. The reason why this has kind of affected me so much, has such an influence on me, is because if you read this book, there's a character named Vanessa who it felt like Vanessa was me when I was in high school. And if you've read this book and you know the character, you know why that's a good thing and a bad thing. And then the final book I have to show you guys is TheEffortless by Julie Halpern. TheEffortless by Julie Halpern. This was the first book to have a character I related to wholeheartedly, and the friendship that Alex has with Becca in this book reminded me of a former friendship I had with a former friend, and it kind of fit for me, and that is why it kind of affected my reading so much, because it was something I related to, is something I sort of lived with. The friend did not have cancer, but she did have a few medical problems that weren't really fixable, so that is why I love this book. There were 10 books that have influenced my reading, and I really want to know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if they've influenced your reading at all, and let me know what book has influenced your reading the most, because I think out of all of this, where is it? I think out of all of this, I think either Perks of Being a Wallflower or Virals has affected my reading the most, just by the way they're written and the way they're told. And yeah. So that is it for this week. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I post every Thursday. And until next time, happy reading.